Unfortunately, I cannot go on the trip that I suggested that Brendan and I were trying to go on the last video, and that's because I spent way too much money on this. I didn't budget properly for this whole rig. What I should have done was just keep the suspension that I already had on it and then just fix all the important stuff, like all the mechanical or the wheel bearings, everything that needed to be fixed in order for me to drive, because the suspension that was on it was okay, it was working. I was just worried just because of all of the rubber on it, like on the shocks, but after taking the shocks off, they seem okay. And then on the leaf springs, the rubber bushings on the back, they seem to be all cracked and stuff. So I probably would have been okay, I'm not too sure. But yeah, that trip was going to be in Colorado, so that would have just took a lot of gas money and all of that. So I've decided that I cannot go on that trip. But that doesn't mean that I'm gonna stop making videos, of course. I have an idea because of this, of a video that I'm going to make that is going to be kind of like a higher production, maybe? I'm not sure. But for this video, we still are fixing up the Jeep. I am going to flush the coolant, and then I'm gonna do something else. I'm not sure yet. You already know what's in the title, so let's get to it. This was giving me all the issues and pains of trying to open this up. I know that there is, I think, a special tool for this, but I wish it was one of those where you like screw it on and it tightens and you unscrew it and it untightens. If I had that, I would replace it, but I don't. And I don't have a vehicle right now to go and get one. I'm just gonna have to put this on and hopefully remember to grab one of those when I do this again, whenever that is. And as you can see too, I have these two containers and I'm able to kind of get most of it. A little bit of splash, but I think this is a lot better than that one bucket I tried last time. And if you can see, it is a green color. That was the coolant that I did purchase beforehand when I was filling it up. And it's been cycled through a couple times, so it's not gonna be completely dirty. And I found that Prestone wash stuff, a lot of people said not to leave it in there for a couple days, but a lot of people have been driving with it for a couple of days. So I've just been letting it sit here and run for like 10 minutes at a time. The Prestone stuff's only really been in there for about 36 hours or so. So I haven't seen any leaks or anything like that. People are saying it does eat away at rubber, which I think would be a weird thing to put in your cooling system because it's all rubber hoses and stuff. So it's kind of weird. And also another thing that I found is that like online people have like, you know, tips, oh, you should do this, but then another person was like, oh no, that's terrible. And so it's very contradicting on what is right and what is wrong. So I'm just, you know, doing the best research as I can and seeing what most people say to do. And a lot of people were having no issues with putting this in for multiple days. It was just some people were saying that they had a leak that was happening after they left it in there for a couple of days. And that may have been a problem that was happening before and they're blaming it. And that's typically how it is. When somebody does something new, they're going to blame that immediately and not knowing what the actual issue is. So let's flush it now. And the tutorial that I watched was from Admiral Off-Road. I don't know if the battery should be connected or not. I'm gonna disconnect it, you know, just in case, because safety, and I'm not sure. I guess it's safer to disconnect it than not. So might as well just do it. My assumption is that this is not draining all the way through like a hard pressure because the thermostat is closed. It's coming out a little bit on the other end. Yeah, I think it's because of my thermostat. So I guess I have two options, is to remove the thermostat, but then I'm gonna have to re-gasket it and I don't have that, or just try to, you know, feed it through as much as it is right now. I don't know if it's a good thing that it is dripping through. I guess the thermostat should be sealed closed. I have no idea. I'm just gonna try to drain out as much as I can. I'm not too concerned since the fluid was still somewhat green. It wasn't completely brown, so might be a little dirty left in there, but I think that's okay. And then the last step was the reserve tank. He has a pump where he pumped it out, but there's just 2 screws on here that I'm just gonna pull the whole tank out and wash it out. So I think that would be easier. I know you can't see, but the water in the reserve tank's really dirty. At the bottom, it looks like there's just like mud. So I'm just gonna hose it down, clean it out as much as I can. Yeah, that's brown. Everything else is like green, and this is brown coming out. Another thing I forgot to mention was that I picked up Dick C-Peck Trail Country EXP tires, and the reason was because these were the cheapest ones that I could find that had the best reviews. They were about like $145 a piece, I think, around there. Well, everything else like Cooper tires or Falcons were around $175, and these tires are also made by Cooper, so I'm going to assume that they are, you know, at a higher quality, and I haven't heard any bad reviews or anybody complaining about these, so I'm gonna give them a go. Now we just gotta put her all back together and fill her up. So online, there's a lot of confusion on like how much coolant to put in versus water. I know everybody likes to do 50-50, and you can buy the 50-50 premix, but of course it's best said online to buy, you know, a full thing of antifreeze, not 50-50, and then buy your own water, because, you know, it's going to be cheaper that way, because the 50-50 mix, you're just paying a lot of money for water. But the confusion is how much coolant to put in, and a guy online was saying his Jeep took 1 gallon of antifreeze and 1 gallon of water, and that's like the perfect mix, that's 50-50, when in reality that's not, because his system will take 3 gallons, and the reason why it took only 1 and 1 is because there's water still in the system. Now it's hard to get all of the water out of the system. This is what I'm learning, and this is my logic behind it. And if you want to get a perfect 50-50 mix, don't use the 50-50 mix, because you're adding to what's already water in your system. Now we did flush it, and it's pretty much impossible to get the water out unless you really start taking pieces apart and really start trying to let it dry out. But the best way to do it is to know how much your system holds, which mine is 3 gallons, and then fill up 1.5 gallons of antifreeze, which is what I'm gonna do, and then fill the rest up with water, because there's water already in it, and we'll just fill the rest up with water. So that is my logic, if that made any sense whatsoever, but yeah, that's what I'm gonna do. Hopefully that logic made sense, and if it didn't, please let me know. You know, I'm learning, but this is kind of what I found online for it to, you know, make sense for me in my mind. And now I don't have a large funnel. I'm just gonna have to have some really good aim here. Look at that. This is gonna take forever. I've decided to get a container that allows me to pour in it a little bit easier, so I'm not spilling all over the place. And then I think using 50-50 mix would be good for like out on the road if you need to hurry up and like top up off or something. But I mean, I don't think it's really like that detrimental if you need to be exact or whatever, but that's what the manufacturer says. I just like to follow instructions. So another thing that I've heard people say online was to either park the Jeep up, or the car, the vehicle, up on a slope a little bit, so the nose is up a little bit, so that all the air comes to the highest point. And another one was a guy had a huge funnel, and the liquid was above the whole engine, so like the air would come up through it. I mean, I guess that makes sense, since air would like to rise through liquid. So that's why I'm on a little bit of an incline right now, doing my best, but with my little funnel. So I'm gonna start her up and see if I can burp her and get more fluid down. While this is burping, can you hear the power steering pump? That's gotta be replaced. All right, and then I finished off with about 1/2 gallon of water. And so that's what I'm assuming, that another gallon of water was left in the system somewhere. But I'm just gonna end it here actually. So we just did cooling on the Jeep Cherokee, and you saw what I went through and all of that, and you already know if you've done it yourself. So this was my first time ever doing this, and this is kind of the whole reason why I want to document this, is just to kind of show that it's not really that hard to work on vehicles. I mean, this vehicle is easier to work on, as I've been told. So anyway, I'm Braxton, and this is TrailspinTV, and we will see you in the next video.